You are now listening to the iWalter Show. Real talk about nothing.
Good afternoon. This is Walter on iWalter. I normally don't do afternoon shows, but there's a couple things I forgot to mention, and I'm going to mention probably now. Just stupid things, and my pet peeves, I guess, a little bit. This will be a very short segment for this afternoon. It's going on 2 o'clock. It's 1:45 on Thursday, the 30th, and I actually have to get ready for work within an hour, and I kind of just rolled out of bed. I tell you, today was just crazy for me already. I woke up, and I was so sore from last night. Again, I'm going to just mention my pet peeves. I don't think I'll do any news segments at this point, maybe one. But I bought a bottle. I live at home with my parents right now, or have been, and I roll out of bed, and my arms are both freaking sore from doing all this work last night. And lo and behold, I go to my Motrin bottle. My parents just, I guess, find it well, since you're in our house, we can just basically take and use all your stuff. And it's like, well, I don't really mind, but just let me know if you put the bottle back empty. And what I'm talking, or what I mentioned was, I was trying to reach for this bottle of Motrin, and I opened up the bottle. There was one pill left. It was a brand new bottle, so they used it all up, and they left one pill in there. Motrin, thinking I wouldn't notice, and both my arms were so freaking numb. It wasn't even funny. It's like, okay, that's beyond just ridiculous. You borrow somebody's stuff and you leave the bottle empty. That's just crazy. So that is a definite pet peeve of mine. Now, another thing I was going to mention, which won't put me you should read the book by Dale Carnegie, and it's called How to Win Friends and Influence People. Because, by the way, years ago it was mentioned to me, oh yeah, you should read that book, and I did. And I actually tried to do the steps that he writes in his book. And I got a response from somebody that said I was being a real smart aleck. Because you basically, the way you win friends and influence people is by agreeing with people even though they are not right. And you basically just reflect upon, find truth even though there may not be any in what they're saying. So I did that one time, and I swear to God, there was this woman where I was a customer. I worked at, I think it was I got it at Gary's at the time. And she said, "Oh, you're a real smart aleck, aren't you?" And it was like, wow, that book really is a great book, a great read. It works absolutely well. So, you know what? On that note, why I'm mentioning that and why I said that I am not like the book. This is another pet peeve. It's like I hear on the news. I've heard it on Rush Limbaugh the other day. And he clarified this, too, that, Hillary right now, especially, sorry, I just bumped my screen, continues to talk about, we need to make equality with women's pay. Like, they only get 72 cents for every man's dollar. And it's like, you know what, I understand that. Don't get me wrong. For one thing, he clarified that she's a hypocrite. She actually paid that much to her female employees on her staff, or not staff. I'm not using the correct word. So, it's one of these things, as my mother told me one time, do as I say, not as I do. And that's what Hillary Clinton's all about. She's a hypocrite. So anyway, I have no problem, but there is another side to that. If you're a woman and you want to get equal pay, I'm not saying this is always the case, you have to do the equal amount of work, too. And the reason I mention this, because I can only, maybe on one hand, and I'm being sarcastic to a point, that I know of women that do the same amount of work, if not more, than men do. And they should get more pay, or equal pay. Now, at where I work, most of the women I know, they make almost double the amount of money I do. And they even have less time than I do. So you explain that one to me. How does a woman who complains about only gets 72 cents for every man's dollar, make more money than I do. And I'm a guy, so that makes no sense. I know a lot of guys like that. I know guys that make maybe $32,000 a year and women that are making over $100,000 a year. So, yeah, that's like real inequality right there. You know, people are always saying, we got to look at the big picture. Well, I'm looking at the small picture. I'm looking about what's happening around me. I really don't care what's happening in the rest of the world. I am sorry to be that way, but it's the truth. So that is my pet peeve. So, and why am I bringing that up? I have two women that work with me during at my job right now, and they don't want to carry their weight. They just leave all the work for me. That's one of the reasons I'm sore. So they pull this game, because I remember this from years ago when I did have girlfriends, and they try to play games with me. And the biggest game that I hate to say, but women will play, is they play that I am helpless and feeble ace card. And it's like, not every woman does that, but the ones I've met and encountered in the past, they do that. And it's really, really annoying. So, you know, when they don't get their way, or if they want to manipulate somebody, they use that feminine card. Oh, I'm just a helpless female. I can't do this. Can you help me do this? And I've heard this because I worked at this place called the Great Train Store years ago, and it was really great at first. With the exception, we had one female that we hired. Actually, we hired more than one, but I'm mentioning the one because she was like one of the guys. She did her share of the work. She never gave us a hassle, and we just thought of her as one of the other guys. It was great. But the rest of them just fell into that category of, I got to be chivalrous and make sure I help this poor defenseless woman because, you know, you're not being fair to her. You know, she shouldn't have to do the same amount of heavy lifting and work that us guys have to do. Well, it's like, well, she should have applied for the fucking, sorry about that, the same job then. I mean, that's just crazy. You know, you want the same freaking job, you got to do the same amount of work. I don't want to hear that crap that says, oh, well, I can't handle this because I'm just a helpless, feeble woman. Well, don't do the job then. That's my problem. So, yeah, I mean, I just don't understand that. And I know plenty of women. There was one woman I really look up to I used to work with at the job I have now. And not just one. There's like, it's more than I can name it on one hand. That these women do more work than men do, and they bust their hump. So I don't have a problem with that. And they get paid well. And that is fair. But for the other ones who don't want to carry their weight, that is just ridiculous. And they got everybody at my job right now. These two women have everybody wrapped around their finger, and they pull that. Like, they will give, these guys are so convinced they will leave all the heavy lifting for me when I come in this afternoon. They won't leave it for these two women, and this one woman I do talk to who's a friend of mine, I told her that, and she agrees with me 100%. She says, that's just ridiculous, and she knows I'm not making it up. Because when this woman, I used to work with her, this one particular woman, I'm going to keep all the names anonymous today. Not the two that I'm talking about who don't want to carry their weight. They made sure that she got all the heavy lifting, that she did all her work. And she's twice the age of these other two people who don't want to do their work that are both women. And she's a woman too. And they're not quite twice her age, but they are very, very close. So to me, I think that's just ridiculous. If this woman can do the same amount of work that I can do and most guys and then more, I have to tip my hat for that. But these other two just play games. So yesterday what they did that really got me angry, they just said and I caught them in a lie, and I didn't catch them at first. They said, oh, yeah, because I do cleaning. I'm basically a glorified janitor at my job. I get paid really well. I get paid 3 times as much as regular janitors get paid. These people get paid almost 4 times as much because they get a lot more hours of work than I do, and if they want it. They don't offer it to me. They just offer it to these other 2 helpless, defenseless women who basically find ways of getting out of work constantly and get away with it. So that just really angers me. So anyway, they pulled this stunt that they cleaned an area that I cleaned the day before yesterday. And then they told me that I didn't mark it down, that I specified that I cleaned this particular area, which I did. So, and there was this other person, another coworker, on a different level from my job. They're not janitors. They're actually the people who do the work, production work, came up to me and said, yeah, they didn't do anything today. They actually didn't even pull trash. And they're janitors. So I don't understand that. But then they pulled this stunt. They're trying to give me, like, bat in the eyes. Oh, we didn't know you cleaned this room today, so we redid it. So I looked at it. The room was exactly the way I left it because I can tell. I can tell the way I cleaned that they didn't touch the floors. They didn't touch tables. They didn't do anything. And then they try to say, oh, we helped you out for your mopping tonight. So we set you up with a mop bucket and all. So guess what they did? Our everything's got to be sterilized, even our mop heads, like these mop head, these rag mop heads. So they took a bag that I brought in all these mop heads that are sterilized in packages. They ripped the package off, the plastic covering to keep it sanitized, threw it on the janitor shelf, and just put the mop head on the handle and said, oh, yeah, we helped you out. That's how we helped you today. Otherwise, a.k.a., they did nothing. So I just don't understand it. And they get away with it because they are feeble, helpless women is the way they present themselves. Now, if I was a woman, I would be really insulted by this. And I think a lot of women are at that job. But they get away with it still because you got these men who, as my one friend would say, they think with their little head, not their big head. And a lot of men there at my job really do that, and that just really annoys me. So, anyway, today is more of a gripe session than anything else, but I can't help it. I just have to mention that. Now, another gripe of mine, since I mentioned two, I said I may have had one story, and I think I lost it, but I lost it all right, but maybe I'll find it again. Maybe two short, stupid, silly stories. But my other gripe was for today, I had this friend who does this all the time. Here, ask about the most minute, frivolous detail that I might mention in a story. Like, oh, so-and-so said this today. And then her call me back, and he will ride me until you want to pull out your hair and say, can you clarify what you just said? I don't understand what you said. Can you clarify? And it's over something that was just a passing thought. Like you say something, you don't know what you said, but this person will ride you till the end of time to ask you, can you clarify what you just said? Can you go into more specific details? Like I just had taken a healthy dump and it was brown. Can you clarify what exactly this dump looked like? And he will ride you. I'm just using it as an exaggeration, a really big one. He will ride you the end of time. And then once you finally give in and you clarify, guess what he says? Oh, okay. Like, it's like he acts like this news is something so important that he needs to know every minute detail that it's going to change the face of the planet, that he could sell it to the government and make millions off of it, or sell it and patent it. But his response is, he doesn't care after you give him the answer he's looking for. So it's just like somebody putting nails down a blackboard when he does that. And he does that way too often. It's like, you know what? You need to really you need to get a life. Because if you have that much time to ask and ride me, asking for specific details on nonsense, you obviously have more time than you're leading on that you don't have. Because you do have a lot of time. So that's a rude awakening that I'm giving you right now. So that really just drives me insane when this person does that. Alrighty, to continue on the nonsense for today that I had to mention on my afternoon show. I felt bad. There was a story. It just popped up this afternoon, and it was a story from, unfortunately, yes, I'm being a hypocrite myself, the Huffington Post. It says that it's titled, School Doesn't Let 4-Year-Old Eat Her Oreos from her own lunchbox. So basically, thank you, Mrs. Obama, because this poor child of 4 years old was told she could not eat her cookies because it wasn't healthy enough. And the mom got really mad. There's a video on this, and it is on the Huffington Post Parents. And I don't blame the mom one bit. She said, when I was a kid, we got cookies and we got milk when we were 4 years old. And we didn't say, oh, this is not healthy enough. Like this woman, this mom, did pack a healthy lunch, but these idiots at this school said, well, she's not allowed to have anything other than just healthy food. And I hate to say it, the food they serve is not healthy to begin with. It doesn't even look like food. So anyway, there was that story. This is just ridiculous. I used to really admire and I loved Kelly Kuko. But now there's a thing, unfortunately, again, yes, on Huffington Post Entertainment. And it says Kelly Kuko dyes her hair cotton candy pink. It's very light. It's highlights, but I can't believe she's 29 years old. I thought she was older than that because when she cut her hair, she looks older than me. And I'm 48. I'm sorry, Kelly, because I love you, but yeah, you look a lot older. But, I mean, that's another thing. You have too much time on your hands that you got to change your whole look. I got to have my hair short. Now I got to dye it pink. You're an adult. You should be beyond that phase of like, I got to look a certain, I got to do things. When I used to do it when I was 19, not when I was 30 almost. So that was kind of annoying too. Oh, the other thing I was going to mention, I thought it was pretty interesting. I was going to mention this yesterday. I actually bought that show for a second season. It's not as good as this first season that I watched. RuPaul's Drag Race, because that is actually a very entertaining show. There's some guys on there, drag queens, that are really good. They're really funny. They do their job well, but they're not as good as the ones last year. With the exception maybe one or two. Anyway, because there's this one heavyset guy who's a drag queen. He is really good. I think he'll win. But they had on John Waters, and I said this to a friend before, and I mentioned this. I thought that RuPaul must have been influenced heavily by, basically Delight, I think her name was. That was the one who used to work with John Waters. That was the first drag queen back in the 70s that really got noticed. She was really heavy, too. So I think that was her name. So John Waters was on there. And, yeah, RuPaul basically did say that. A lot of these drag queens, they are heavily influenced by John Waters and his movies. Now, that reminds me, because I had a friend years ago from college, a college buddy and another friend. This college buddy came over and he made us watch Pink Flamingos, and both me and this other guy we weren't interested. We thought it was horrible. And we just didn't understand the whole thing. In fact, me and this friend from college, we went to this horror fest at a video store basement the other week. And these films were really bad. They were like literally dug up from, one was dug up from the back of their trunk of their car. A used car that somebody bought. And, I mean, these things were really just lost videos that should have stayed lost. They were so bad. So, anyway, there was this guy there, and he had this penciled-on mustache, this young guy. And it was like, he kind of looks like somebody I knew. And it was like, wait a minute, he's like one of these John Waters drones who, think John Waters is the best thing since sliced bread. And it's like, I hate to say it, the man's movies are horrible. I don't mean to say that, but I just can't stand his movies. So anyway, I'm going to leave it go at that. I got to get ready for work at this point. It's after 2 o'clock. So everyone, have a good afternoon, Thursday afternoon. I'll see you later on.